Oh, are we going?
We're going.
Okay.
We're going. And I'm trying to figure out a way to broach this subject. And I really, honestly, I don't know how, because, look, I guess I should just go into it.
What?
I was discovered. I can't speak for you, Betsy, or executive producer who joined us on our last episode, but I was seen in a way that I really don't know what to do. I'm scared. I was found out, and one of
What are you talking about?
one of our listeners found out that I have an underbite and I'm 50 pounds overweight, and I don't know what to do, because I thought I could get through at least 2 years of the podcast before anybody found me out, and I'm in a place now where I don't know what to do, because if I can't hide behind the mic, where can one hide? You know what I'm saying? So
I don't understand what you're talking about. This is somebody left a comment that
somebody said that we all sound like we have an underbite, and
what
that
does
we're
that
50
sound
pounds
like though?
overweight. I don't know, because I have veneers, so I have no earthly fucking clue what
Maybe
that sounds
it's
like.
me. I feel like I have the opposite of that though.
You do not have an underbite, and you do not sound like you have an overbite. You don't sound like anything, and neither does executive producer. Guys, I'm fat. And you know what's so embarrassing is that I am currently trying to lose some weight, because I gained weight in the pandemic. So, I just feel like, God, I really thought I'd be able to get through the podcast losing those last 50 pounds before somebody fucking caught me.
Before BravoCon.
Exactly. Before BravoCon, guys. And,
Well, now let's just lean into it.
call a spade a spade.
Yeah, a spade, baby.
I want to thank
We can't
KJHLOMQPRSTUV
Good God.
for doing the thing that we all have been afraid to admit, which is that we're 50 pounds overweight, Thank you.
We too are people.
Who knew?
We're not bots
No, but I just didn't know that somebody's fat phobia could really get us to come out
on the podcast.
very much like Jenna Lyons had to just be forced to come out on page 6,
Yeah, we had to say confirm.
Confirm. Can you confirm or deny your underbite and 50 pounds overweight? Confirm on both, please. I mean, Christ almighty.
Listen, if she wants to pay for some dental work and some Ozempic, donate us a drink, baby.
Yeah,
but it's going to
guys,
have to be a little bit more
donate a
expensive.
Guys, donate a cocktail, because we're trying to get bathing suit ready for BravoCon. That's going to be in the fall. Oh, but it
my
is going to be in
God.
Vegas.
Yeah.
Maybe we can.
Is it
have a poll-
November? It is, right?
I think. I'm not
October
sure.
or November.
I don't know, but it's in Vegas. We can hang out by the pool at Caesars.
Yeah. I'll be there.
Yeah.
I go to Vegas a couple times a year anyway, so I'll see if I can get us a deal on a room.
Well, Bethany Frankel is also telling us to boycott BravoCon.
Well, more reason to go. She's not going to be there, I guess.
Yeah, she's saying to boycott it all.
Why? Isn't that going to? I mean, just because she wants
because of
reality to be on strike and.
Oh yeah, let's be clear here. She's not talking about the viewers need to. Well, maybe she is saying the viewers need to boycott BravoCon. She is saying the viewers need to boycott the shows. We should stop watching the shows.
Oh, okay. So what is she talking about on her podcast? I'm just curious.
It's not even the podcast. She's just gone out spoken to people with Entertainment Tonight. God, guys, the news source of all news sources, Entertainment Tonight. She's gone out and she has spoken about how reality stars need to unionize because they're being taken advantage of, which I'm very excited because you, me, and executive producer, we're all going to hop on the mic and discuss unions, the Writers Guild of America, the Producers Guild of America.
Yeah, I'm going to be kind of like the
SAG-AFTRA.
passenger in the car because I don't know much, but...
Well, you're going to be the POV of our listeners who are very curious about this.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting for sure.
So she wants us to all boycott everything. And she says that it has nothing to do with her. It's based on principle.
Yeah, she can sit back in her multi-million-dollar condo and have the luxury of saying that. But I would still like to go.
Well, here's what I'll say. I mean, Taylor Swift did the same thing with Spotify, which we're all aware of.
Oh, yeah. That's why I purchased my music through Apple. I don't like
here's what I'll
anything
say
to be taken away.
About that. Whether it was about her or not, we'll never know. Because she came out and spoke for the little people. Instead of speaking about necessarily herself and big stars, like big artists.
Yeah.
She's talking about the little people who their only way to make money is to stream on Spotify and they're making like 2 cents for every stream.
Yeah.
So, at least she did that.
Yeah.
But Bethany, on the other hand, she is taking herself out of the conversation by saying, it's not for me. it's for the principle. But she's stopping. Well, yeah, the buck stops though just with reality stars, which I totally support. I think reality stars should receive residuals on some of these replays.
Yeah, that's what we talked about.
But we're lacking the mention of all the shoulders that those reality stars had to climb up and be hoisted on to propel them into the stardom and to the $150 million Jim Beam contract that they made when they sold, Skinny Girl. We're not talking about that. We're only talking about, reality stars who a lot of them make a lot of money, which I don't want to take away from that. They should still be making more money. But we're not talking about us little producers, the casting directors and all those people who find the people to be on the shows.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's much bigger than that. And also, she's not on the reality show anymore, so she really has nothing to lose.
Well, what's interesting is that there have been people who have been associated or contracted under certain shows that she's producing who have felt that her coming out and saying the things that she's saying are a little hypocritical because they're under lock and key. And I could probably talk about this forever, but we'll talk about it on our...
Oh, yeah, we'll get in depth on... Well, we don't know what we're going to call it yet, but...
I think it's just, WAG, SAG. No, I'm just kidding.
It's the roadside show.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Mm.
Woo!
Wow, how exciting.
Yeah.
What an exciting day.
What an exciting
Let's talk about reality TV.
I know, guys. The industry's imploding, but we're still watching, so we're not listening to Bethany. We're still watching the shows. Yeah. And we're here to bring you our Real Housewives of New York episode 2 recap.
Solo recap, too.
And I'm getting my voice back. I don't know if you can tell. I went on a whole thing about fat phobia, but my voice is still here. And how do you know when someone sounds like they're overweight?
I don't know.
Is this what it sounds like?
I guess it honestly might be a special talent. Maybe our laugh. I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Let's ask Brendan Fraser. Because he was in the movie The Whale. Guys. He was in the movie The Whale. Guys, I have to tell you the story real quick before we get into it because I think it's really funny. So a few months back,
oh my God,
I was driving my mom to a doctor's appointment. We had a solid hour in the car. Just to kind of give you some perspective here. We're talking like it's 5:30 in the morning. It's very, very early. It's very dark outside. And, conversation is a little sparse that early in the morning for an hour-long drive. So I was taking my mom to a doctor's appointment, and I was going into the fact that I had gained weight after taking antidepressants like 100 million years ago. We're talking like 2019, but that's kind of where it started. And I gained a little weight there. And then the pandemic hit like 9 months later.
That's your underbite coming out.
Touche.
Start over again. Bravo, bravo, bravo.
Excuse me. Okay. I love how I clear my throat, but it still sounds like this. It has taken so long to get my voice back. But anyway, I digress.
Okay.
So, we're here today, guys. We're here.
Oh, we have to move our hands a lot. That's part of our exercise.
Because that's the only way we get it, right? To shed those extra 50 fucking pounds. We have to move our arms.
We're hand talkers.
Yeah, we're hand talkers.
When we hit the mic, it's just part of our exercise.
Oh, yeah, and we turn the air down very, very low. I mean, essentially off, so we can sweat in here while we're also podcasting.
It's true.
Anyway, so I'm driving my mom to this appointment, and I was just kind of lamenting. I was just kind of talking about the weight gain, and I had started gaining weight in 2019 because I went on antidepressants after my father passed away, and I was just really sad, as anybody would be.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where it started. So I gained like 15 pounds with that.
Yeah.
Then the pandemic hit. Then more pandemic, and then more pandemic. And then I blew out my knee in the fall. So it's really just kind of been a calamitous years.
Yeah, it's a clusterfuck.
Yeah, it's a clusterfuck. So I've gained weight.
Yeah.
That's why I was so sad. And I was found out, you know what I mean? So anyway, in the conversation, talking to my mom in the car on the way to her appointment, I'm just kind of like lamenting. I'm like, it's no big deal. I feel good. I feel confident. None of that has changed. But the reality is I need to lose weight. And I was like, it's just been really hard. But I'm on that trajectory and I'm trying to, to lose weight. This conversation probably lasted, 20, 25 minutes. It was a solid amount of time. Okay. I'm probably overshooting that because who wants to talk about their weight for that long? Oh, well, here we are. Anyway, so after, I said that, Mom was like, oh, I understand. And then there was this long pause, what felt long, but it was probably like a minute, maybe. And then she turns to me and goes, so have you seen the movie The Whale? And I just looked at her and I was
trying to relate.
I just looked at her and I was like, I understand that my story about my weight gain is what kind of propelled you to maybe subconsciously want to ask me if I've seen The Whale. No, stop it. No. I didn't. And I was like, it's okay. I got it.
God.
I fucking got it.
Yeah.
I worked on a show called Skin Tight for TLC, which is
What is that?
It's a sister show to My 600-Pound Life.
Oh, okay.
Look,
okay.
I get it. I know. The Whale. I understand. So all that to say, here we are.
Here we are.
All right.
And believe it or not, we were not in The Whale, not even as extras. So
I was Brendan Fraser's double. I was a stand-in. I was his behind the head stand-in. When he needed to take a break. Yeah. He's over the shoulder stand-in. You don't have to see his face. I mean, fuck.
God, we just cannot win ever.
I mean, I'm winning. I'm winning with all my weight gain and my underbite.
The Biggest Loser. Here we are.
Yeah. I
think that show got discontinued. I don't know if it's still around.
Yeah. I need to go back to my Cosmopolitan. I need to go back to my dentist who specializes in cosmetology because I have an underbite and
I don't think you do.
I didn't pay for what I would consider a Mercedes coupe in my mouth. I didn't pay that much to have an underbite. So, I need to go back. I need to redo.
Readjust.
Yeah. So, anyway, guys.
Well, yeah.
I hope you've enjoyed us lamenting and laughing about this because this is hysterical. But shall we?
Let's do it.
Hey, y'all. Welcome to Reality Bites, the podcast where we'll deep dive into this week's buzziest reality TV and pop culture happenings.
I'm Betsy, and while I may be 9 to 5 by day, I'm a reality connoisseur by night.
And I'm JJ, a reality TV producer by trade, but my favorite pastime is dishing unfiltered dirt and behind-the-scenes scoop. We'll tackle the biggest and best water cooler moments of the week through an insider lens you won't find anywhere else.
Buckle up, buttercups.
Please don't tell me it's about Tom.
It's about Tom.
This is Reality Bites. We're here, episode 2.
Yeah.
It's tough to have overall thoughts, but...
Mm-hmm. Are you going to ask me what my overall thoughts are?
Yeah, what are your overall thoughts thus far, now that we've been introduced to the women in a second episode?
I was happy to see them go on a cast trip.
Yes.
Even, if it was, just in the Hamptons, I thought that was fun. Because we get to see them all together. Because the first episode, there's a lot going on. You're introducing everyone. And it's kind of a lot of just solo scenes and maybe like 2-on-2, stuff like that. And we only got to see them as a group at the very end. So even though I will say I missed Brynn, obviously we'll get her next episode because I saw it in the trailer. Aside from her not being able to go, it was nice to have all of the women, for the most part, together for the whole episode. Because we kind of really got to see... maybe some interesting characteristics, maybe who's going to go a little bit better with certain people and, know.
Well, we kind of discussed it in the last episode when we talked about New York. We had a feeling that they didn't necessarily all know each other. Mm-hmm. And I think that rings true. So with this episode, I was happy to see them more pepper in that Jenna is new to the overall group, as opposed to kind of not pulling the wool over our eyes, but in a way doing that, because we've seen it on other franchises when they introduce new women, they'll introduce them right away and they'll give us a little bit of like how they're tied to the group, but they don't necessarily focus so much on that because they don't have to, because we have the other women on the show. So with this season, I think it's really nice and it's important that they do focus that Jenna really isn't a big part of the group in the same way maybe the other women might be, because we can see it and we can feel it a little bit. Now, typically, when I've worked on shows like this, when we have cast trips, we don't do them this early on.
Right.
Which
I was surprised by that too.
Yeah. And at first I was kind of surprised a little bit, but then it kind of made sense because the reality is the women who do know each other outside of Jenna, they know each other only to a certain degree.
Right.
They don't know each other enough to understand each other's idiosyncrasies. So having this small cast trip in episode 2 is really important for the audience, because that means that producers and the people overseeing the show also know that the viewers at home are probably going to pick up on the fact that these women don't know each other in the nuance, right?
Right.
So a cast trip, even if it's small in the Hamptons, allows us to kind of be introduced to their idiosyncrasies, but also more importantly, they get to be introduced to each other.
Yeah.
And we're seeing it a little bit because I know you picked up a little bit on it, like certain little things that they'll say here and there. And we're like, okay, they really don't know each other because if they were closer friends, they may not be asking or prodding or poking as much as they are about Jess's sex life.
Or lack thereof.
Exactly. Are we calling her Jess? I noticed that some people in the show shortened it to Jess.
I don't know.
Well, I guess we can say
I
honestly
didn't pick up on that.
I think it was Sai who called her Jess.
Oh, I love a nickname, so Jess.
Well,
or Jessel, I guess.
Jessel. We'll call her Jessel for now until we hear other people starting to call her Jess.
Yeah. Until we get her preference on what she prefers.
Exactly. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty solid episode.
Yeah.
We're just getting to know these women. I am seeing a lot of comments on Instagram.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I respect everyone's opinion. It's episode 2, and, I get it.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of, like, sweeping opinions about these women and it feeling a little phony. Like, people like Sai or an Uba, they feel like maybe putting it on. Same.
Uba was my favorite character of this episode. And I say character. She was my standout.
Well, I think people are kind of thinking, or their perception is that they're putting it on more so than they maybe would in real life. Or they're putting on this personification of what they think you're supposed to do, quote, on a housewife show. I can understand that a little bit. Like, in watching it, I can understand that perception, but that is not my takeaway, I guess. I mean, I don't necessarily think that Uba is overdoing it. And I saw some comments of people saying that. Some people were saying
we just don't know them well enough.
No, exactly.
That's my thing, is like, we've known them now for 2 episodes, and I can't say that one person is putting it on because we just don't have enough information.
That's how I feel.
Now, there's some that are not jiving with me, and I will say Sai, I am finding her, of the cast, a little bit more annoying than the other women.
Yeah.
Uba, I think, seems over the top, but I also think that she seems very authentic, and I'm laughing a lot with her. So I am loving her right now.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I mean, not to bring her up, but because they are cousins, I think it's a good comp just because of the Housewife franchise show. Dubai, for instance. All of those women are over the top.
Yeah.
But it felt like it probably, to a viewer standpoint, or from a viewer standpoint, it probably felt that fit more with the theme because it is Dubai, and Dubai in and of itself is over the top. But I don't think that they're being over the top any differently than other housewives have been, or frankly, how the old cast on RHONY used to be. I mean, Ramona from the jump, what season is it that she wants an air conditioning?
I don't know, 6, 7?
Yeah, I think, season 6. Now I know that's later on, but look at Countess. Remember when she gripes at her driver, her taxi driver, for not saying Countess Luann?
Yeah.
It's Countess.
Yeah, isn't that over the top?
Yes, it is. Because no one cares about that. No one cares about that title. That is like a nothing title. I mean, it's not a title, but it's just like a nothing title in terms of the monarchy or anything like that. So let's just be very clear.
Yeah, and now we can look back on that moment and laugh because Luann's been arrested and threatened to kill people, and look at her now. So
I'll fucking kill you.
Now it's just a moment of, look at that.
I have the Luann voice, I feel like, a little bit.
Luann's voice is getting deeper as the years pass.
Be cool.
Don't be all uncool.
Don't be all uncool. I have it.
Yeah.
I have that cigarette
Money
voice.
can't buy you class.
Yeah.
Remix.
I love it. I love it. But yeah, overall, I'm enjoying the women.
Yeah. I feel like we need to give a little latitude, a little grace.
Yeah.
And I get it. And I'm speaking to myself right now in the mirror because I was so obsessed with old RHONY that I think there is an aspect of people just wanting to hate the show.
Sure.
Or not really wanting to give it a fair fighting chance, which I can understand because I had a hard time opening up to, wanting to even watch this show, even though I knew I would, but I was resistant. So I think that if we can just really try to separate this from old RHONY and just give it, look at it like, Salt Lake City. We all gave that show a fucking chance, okay? And we got Lisa Barlow, so I'm not mad about it, but like that show's turning out to just be horrific. But we gave that a chance, so we just got to give this a little bit of a chance.
But I don't want to shame any of our listeners who feel this way towards RHONY. I totally understand it.
I get it because
I'm the producer who can understand why we need to compartmentalize. But Betsy is perfect, the juxtaposition, because Betsy.
Yeah, I'm very emotional. So yeah. I get it. That's what I'm saying. People, I just think whether it's subconscious or not, I think there might be an aspect where we're looking for reasons to hate it. And I get that because I'm kind of part of that too. But I'm trying to be a little bit more open-minded.
I've also seen a lot of comments, observational opinions, whatever you want to call them, that these women don't represent the real New York. Now, when someone says the real, quote, New York, that really could mean a myriad of things.
Yeah.
It's kind of subjective. So I'm curious for any of our listeners out there who may be from New York. We can ask executive producer.
Yeah, we'll have
later.
to ask EP.
Yeah.
Although she seemed to like the character, so I don't know.
I mean, I've spent a lot of time in New York. I can't say that I'm a New Yorker at heart outside of my ancestry.
That's right.
Who says that my family had property during the New Amsterdam era, which is 1625, guys.
The real OG.
The real OG over here. But outside of that, I'm kind of curious more when people say that, like what they mean, because there is a lot of diversity that we see on the show. But I wonder if they're talking more in a socioeconomic standpoint, like this is not a reflection of New York. Which, if that's the case, I completely agree. It's not a representation of that. But if we're looking at it specifically to the microcosm of Housewives and the franchises and that type of visual wealth language that we like to show on shows like Beverly Hills, and Atlanta, I think that, yes, we are seeing, diversity in that somewhat, but no, we're not seeing people who are living in Bushwick. We're not seeing people who are living in Washington Heights or Harlem.
But when would we have ever seen that before on RHONY? So
we wouldn't unless somebody lived there, and nobody who's going to be cast on Real Housewives of New York, unfortunately, is not living in Washington Heights. It's not because I don't love that area of the island. It's just that it's like so fucking far. And most people who would consider themselves, quote, cosmopolitan are not living in those areas. Harlem is a different story. I would love to see a woman living in a brownstone in Harlem, but we're not there yet. And I feel like we have a lot of diversity. So I'm curious, our listeners out there, if you can understand why other viewers have said things like it doesn't represent New York in the way that they had imagined.
We want to know.
We want to know. All right, well, we start this episode off. The women are packing. They're headed to the Hamptons, guys, in the off season. Let's be very clear about that.
Yeah.
They're all wearing coats. I'm imagining this is probably in October.
It's unclear to me. They act like it's closer to like December and Christmas, but I don't know.
No, it's not that far in. I want to say it's probably like October. I felt like I heard one of the women say winter, but the foliage doesn't indicate that it's winter yet. I'm imagining it's probably October. I also had friends who worked on this franchise or this season, and so I know that they didn't start until probably like mid-September.
Okay.
Or even like late September. So with prep and things like that, we're in episode 2. This is probably the end of October, maybe the first week of November.
Okay.
They're packing. Yeah. Now, I did not notice. I mean, I noticed that she packed a lot, but I don't think I really understood or contextualized how much she actually packed until she was unpacking the car when she got into the Hamptons. But supposedly like side packed. How much did you see her?
I think like eight suitcases or something.
Oh.
I think it was a lot. I don't remember the exact count, but like there were multiple to the fact. I think it was Jessel who showed up first, and she's like, Uba's going to be riding with us. Like, how are we all going to fit in this car together? Because there was so much luggage. And she's like, I'm a content creator. I got to produce that content.
Well, what's funny is I actually wrote my notes. I was like, I don't know why they're so shocked. She is a content creator after all. It kind of gave me like Paige DeSorbo. When she arrives at the summer house, she always has an entire room full of clothing because she content creates while she's there.
I guess I've never really seen her, though, like come in with multiple suitcases.
You know what it is? I think I'm specifically referencing the COVID season because they could not go home and get things she really brought
that
her
makes
entire
sense.
closet. And I think her and Ciara they each had their own bedroom, but they made one of their rooms into a closet and then they shared a room.
Okay.
So that kind of makes sense to me, but not for 3 days in the Hamptons. I'm sorry. I feel like that's too much.
And I'm trying to even think just this first day that they got there, I'm trying to think how many different outfits I saw her in. I don't even know. It couldn't have been more than like 2 or 3. I guess minus the lingerie at the end, but...
God, we'll get into that in a minute. But Well, it's so funny because the way that she was talking about her clothing, she was giving them themes because you just never know what type of content you could be creating. You don't know
Right.
the house. What could you be wearing that could give way to like a new post or something that she does?
She calls it her moods.
Got it. Her moods. Okay. Well, it was really giving me Sonia Morgan, guys, because there is this episode, and I think it's in season 9, where we see Sonia. Don't count on that. I think it's season 9, but we see Sonia packing her lingerie for a trip.
Okay.
And she has Pickles, her intern, there to help her. And Pickles, yeah, I know. And Pickles is given the task of putting together her underwear, like her lingerie. Okay. And Pickles, I think, is kind of confused, like what to pack. And Sonia's like, what do you mean? It's thematic. You don't get it? Like, you know, every piece of underwear has a specific theme. And so she kind of gives Pickles the rundown, and she pulls out each thong and she goes, this, Hamptons, summer. Next one, Saint-Tropez, spring. Aspen, winter. These, horseback riding, see? Because it's like granny panty. You need all the protection you can on a horse. Pickles, I'm teaching you a wealth of knowledge, she says. So I feel like it's very similar to that.
The intern.
Yeah. So
this is where I get confused and, you know, trying to ground myself with that. We still don't really know these women. Like, I understand she's a content creator, but that can mean 100 different things. And because I've never followed her before, I have no idea what content she creates. So I'm getting the vibe that maybe it's a lot of pictures of herself, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Okay.
I think that it's pictures of herself, pictures of the things that she's doing to kind of give an overall mood to her viewers or those patrons who come to her page.
Okay.
But I'm unclear too if it's just Instagram or she has her own website. I'm not sure.
I don't know. I'm assuming that eventually we'll get a deeper dive into these women's background other than just like, oh, I'm a content creator. Because, you know, we saw they took that photo at dinner of the martini glasses, I guess. So
I saw that. I was like, please stop.
She's working. She's always working.
Guys, very clear. I don't care that you take pictures of martinis. I get it. I've been there. We all do it. But I'm not rearranging the middle of a dinner full of, you know, 6 or 7, 8 women, however many are there. I lost count. 5 guys. I lost count.
Like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There were 5.
Yeah.
5 plus the martini glasses.
Exactly.
And the camera.
So we find out that Bryn's not coming on the trip.
I know. Womp womp.
She's sick.
I'm sick.
Isn't that Amanda Seyfried?
Yeah.
On
Boo, you are. Yeah. I'm sick.
She's not
That's why I got out of some of my work days. I used that to a T.
Which is a bummer.
Yeah.
And I missed her. But after seeing the whole episode, I'm kind of glad that she wasn't there because I think we wouldn't have seen the little thingies that bother people because I think Bryn probably would have livened it up and made it into a joke, which would have been wonderful. But I need to know what irritates these women.
Yeah, she really uses space. She uses the space to, you know, to make light of things.
I'm sad she wasn't there, but at the same time, I'm kind of glad.
Well, I missed her, so that's how I knew. I felt her mispresence. What is it?
Yeah, her presence.
Yeah,
you missed her presence, but we will get in the next episode, hopefully. Depending on how long this trip is. Did she come back?
No, she's the trailer. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's right. So we'll get her take on things. Yeah, they'll fill her in. How was the first day of the trip? And then we'll get all of that. You know, the women don't like caviar, which we also come to find out when the women in the car, we've got Sai,
Aaron cannot win,
Uba, and Jussel. And they're all talking about whether or not there's going to be food because they're hungry. So they call Aaron to check in. And Erin is excited to have everybody over. She's already given us a window into the Caviar catering that she has set up. So she goes on to tell the women that there's going to be caviar there. And I'm actually kind of surprised. I was perplexed. None of them seems to be on board with eating caviar.
Yeah. Except for Jenna. Jenna's the only one who was into it.
These are the little moments, though, where we get a window into the fact that they really
they're not friends.
Know each other because
they're not, or they're more of acquaintance at this point than anything else.
Most people, I think, would be open to caviar. I've actually never tried it.
I haven't either.
And I've been to plenty of places that have it. It's not really an LA thing. To me, it's more of a Northeast. Well, caviar is an every person thing, but given where I've been and regions, it's just not, you know, I spent 10 years in LA. Caviar is just not an LA thing. It's more sushi and omakase and like things like that are a little bit more specialty, but it's just not a thing. But caviar is a thing in the Northeast. So I was a little surprised that they weren't into it.
Yeah, and I only knew that because of past RHONY. They would always eat, like, especially like Ramona and them always eat, caviar.
Guys, caviar is so expensive.
Is it? I mean, I guess I'm not surprised. It seems like a very rich person thing to eat, but I don't know.
For our listeners out there who are unfamiliar with the price of caviar, I'll just give you a little bit of an example. So I would say like a shoe polish tin can that you would buy at the store, you can buy a size of that in caviar. I would say that's probably like $2,000.
What? Are you serious?
Yeah. I would say probably like 8 ounces of caviar.
Okay.
Let me just go ahead and let me double check.
Do you have like an orgasm when you're eating this stuff? I don't understand why. I mean, I guess unless you're just filthy rich, I don't know why anybody would be spending any money.
It's a delicacy. Do you remember in that scene of You've Got Mail, where at this point, Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks' character already know each other, but they're irritated with each other, and they end up at this book reading or something, and there's all the caviar, and there's all the, the spread, and Meg Ryan sees Tom Hanks like scooping up the caviar, and she's like, "You're not supposed to do that. Like you're hoarding. It's a garnish. Like you're supposed to just put it a little bit on top. It's expensive."
So is the idea that it lasts longer?
No, it's just a delicacy. It's hard to come by. Like it's hard to get because of the way that you have to harvest.
Oh, okay.
It's just a delicacy, almost like pearls in an oyster. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Wow.
So
something else I haven't tried.
So I'm looking at caviar right now, and this 8-ounce jar, Osteria Russian caviar, $690.
Jesus Christ.
8 ounces, guys.
Wow.
It's really expensive. So from Aaron's standpoint, I get why it's a bummer that none of them are like, they're like, ew, poo-pooing caviar.
Yeah, she probably spent a shit ton of money on that.
Yeah. I mean, she doesn't know the faces they're making in the car, but I'm just was shocked. I thought maybe they'd all be into it.
Well, but to me, it's also something that could have been so easily avoided if you say to the girls, hey, come up to I really want y'all to come to my place in the Hamptons. I was thinking that when y'all get there, I'll just have like a little caviar assortment of things. And then in that moment, they'd have been like, ooh, I don't really like caviar. And then, you could have avoided all that. But she made an assumption and she assumed wrong. I guess like the cheese platter, although.
Well,
I love the cheese platter.
From a producing standpoint, I'm happy that she made an assumption because then we get a window into these women not liking the things that we assume they might like.
Yeah.
We also come to find out that Uba doesn't like cheese. Fuck off.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. She's like, I don't like cheese.
And Sai's like, say it's you. It wasn't me. It was you.
Yeah. She doesn't like cheese. Who doesn't like cheese?
I don't know.
Unless you're lactose.
That's what I mean. Like, I can understand having to avoid cheese because of that, but like just not liking cheese in general. But she also eats 8 bananas a day. So,
Also true.
Just might be a different palate.
I can't believe I fucking forgot to ask you.
What?
Did you have a sex dream about Craig Conover the last time we talked about it?
No.
We were like, this is going to propel you into a cheese platter.
Oh, that's right.
About Craig Conover.
No, if I did, I blocked it out. I don't think so.
I mean, we dream every night. We just don't remember them.
Yeah.
So.
Well, if I did
you wake up hot and sweaty?
No. Well, yeah, because my room is so hot. So that's a different situation.
Did you wake up feeling like, what happened to me? Did something happen to me in the middle of the night?
No.
No? Okay.
Maybe tonight I'll try to put it out to the universe.
I mean, look, no one wants you to remember the dream. We just want to make sure that you have the sex dream to begin with, okay?
I just had that one.
Yeah, well,
remember.
There's still time. And guys, Southern Charm is going to be premiering in the fall, so I cannot wait.
Okay.
Cannot wait.
Hot and bothered.
Yeah. Starring Betsy.
And the cheese.
Yeah.
And Craig on the side, I guess. But the main
course
is cheese.
What type of cheese?
And he would agree. Oh, I love all cheeses. I love a good brie.
Okay.
I love Gouda. There's this really good blueberry brie cheese. So fucking good.
I like that too.
Honestly, I don't know that I've tried a cheese that I was really turned off by. So
I feel like a lot of people don't like blue cheese.
So,
or gorgonzola.
I like both of those.
Same. I like all of them.
Yeah.
I like all the cheeses. I've never met
Swiss.
a cheese I don't like,
Oh, I know. That's
Perhaps
what I'm saying.
that's the reason why I sound like I am overweight by 50
Guys,
pounds.
we're starting to discover how we got here.
Yeah.
It's the cheese, the gateway drug, the cheese.
Oh my God, it really is my DOC. Like if I had to choose
Yeah. Oh, really?
weed over cheese, I don't know.
What if this would be really gross? But what if there was a weed flavor of cheese?
No,
Do you think that?
absolutely fucking not. I don't need to breathe that in. I have to breathe in enough as it is.
I was just
I'm
asking,
good.
just putting it out there.
Hell no.
Just
But
putting it out there.
I mean, some cheeses
Swiss
smell
flavored weed.
No. I mean, who knows? I don't know. I don't know.
Do they ever infuse cheese?
No, I've never.
They don't.
Oh, you mean like weed with
Yeah.
cheese? Oh, cheese with weed in it?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
I'd be down to try that.
Absolutely.
I might overdo it though.
Yeah, I don't need a cheese flavor, but they infuse everything with weed.
Okay.
Oh my God, I've made so many things.
Okay, that might be fun to try.
I know because, guys, not to go off too much on a tangent, but Betsy wants to try edibles for the first time. So
well, the first time really, because I can't count that Denver trip. But yeah, I'm trying to switch up my vices a little bit, drink less and eat more. So
well, it's perfect because Betsy's gonna come over and very much like the 40-year-old virgin when he watches porn for the first time, we're gonna light candles. And we're going to dim the lights. And then, by the way, we're going to put Up in Smoke, Cheech and Chong. And then we're going to put on How High. And then we're going to put on, what's the
it's going to be an overdose.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm ready. But, I'll feel safe with you doing it because you're very well versed.
Oh, yeah.
In all the stuff.
We'll microdose you.
Yeah.
We'll be kind. Ready. We'll be gentle.
And we'll do it on the mic, so don't worry. You'll be, you can give us feedback.
I say we because executive producer also said that she was wanting to be a part of this. So.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
We'll take care of you.
Okay. Well, I'm ready.
It'll be like doing mushrooms or acid for the first time.
Yeah. Like when you were at Taylor, you're like, I'm floating in that cloud right now. I'm like,
God, please don't remind me. It was an experience. Okay, guys? Okay.
Yeah. I need to do one at a time. I can't go over the top.
Well, speaking of feeling safe, Uba ends up explaining to us that she typically doesn't stay at people's houses.
Oh, yeah.
She feels more comfortable and I guess maybe perceived, not really safe, but she just feels more comfortable being in a hotel. And it's not personal. Now, I don't know why people are shocked by that. How many housewives have we run into who don't like staying in hotels? I mean, sorry, homes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Diana Jenkins.
Honestly,
Dorit.
I get it. And when she said that, I was like, honestly, I relate to that. Like, I will stay in the house to be polite, but kind of what she was saying is that, she just feels, more comfortable because she doesn't want to worry about waking people up or she has to get up in the middle of the night. She doesn't want to worry about X, Y, and Z, whether that's the truth or it's not. Like, I can relate to that.
I can relate to that.
And who doesn't want to just, be alone in a hotel room versus a house of 5 women who you mildly know? So,
yeah.
I actually related to that. Even though you obviously just end up staying in the home, you do what you're there to do and bond with the women. But I related.
Yeah, I understand wanting to stay elsewhere. Now, I want to stay in the house for the camaraderie.
Well, right, yeah.
But I also
sleeping.
Yeah, but I also think she said something along the lines of she rarely gets out of the house on her own, independently. So when she does like to have that that like isolated type of feeling, which. You don't need to tell me twice. I completely understand that.
Yeah.
Toilet paper.
Well, to me, that's where I'm like, I'll just use the toilet paper that's there. Do we think it was like a little, I don't know what the word is.
Jab?
Yeah. No, like just like a, haha, I'm doing this because it's funny.
I think it's
like a moment.
100% in jest. I think that they're totally joking, but I do think that, there's a little truth behind that. Who wants to use single-ply toilet paper? I think that if you were to ask anyone, no one's like, woo, single-ply. You just use what you use.
Is she assuming that that's what is there?
No, I think she's just trying to make it. I think she's trying to be funny and it's just not landing.
Again, because we don't really know her.
No, and it doesn't land later on when she brings the toilet paper, which I didn't even know that she brought an actual like 6-pack or 8-pack roll of toilet paper.
Yeah.
And it didn't land there either because I get that it's funny in nature and I know that I'm supposed to laugh. But Erin doesn't have a response to it, which leads me to believe they don't know each other in that way.
Yep, again.
So Erin looks like she just doesn't really know what to say.
Yeah.
She's like, am I offended? Am
awkward.
I laughing? And yeah, I mean, it just feels,
I mean, she ends up blowing it off, which is what you do. Like, you don't want to make a big deal out of it. But this episode, moments like that, moments later, I kept feeling like, oh yeah, these women, they don't really know each other that well.
No, they're trying to figure each other out. And we can see that in this episode. It's ever so slight, but we're seeing it. The faces, the low key like judgment, but not judging because they don't know each other. They think they're being friends and like giving good advice or unsolicited advice, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But yeah, they don't know each other in that way where it just kind of doesn't land.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, so on this phone call where we find out the women don't like caviar, Uba says that she wants to get a sandwich from Provisions.
Okay.
Now, prior to the interview bite where she talks about Provisions, I literally was watching it and I was like, Provisions is really fucking nice. So
yeah, I don't know what this is, so you'll have to tell me.
Well, the name of the store in and of itself just kind of reads luxe because provisions are things that, like if you rent a home or you rent a yacht or a sailboat, they'll give you like a list of things that you can grocery shop from that they'll stock your home or your any kind of rental that you have. I've only experienced it internationally, so it's just kind of like an added thing. But it's meant to kind of evoke like a luxe type of environment. So the grocery store is called Provisions. There's only 2 of them in the Hamptons area. That's West Hampton, East Hampton, Sag Harbor, Montauk, Watermill. I think I've listed most of everything. But it's a really nice grocery store. I've been there. It's fucking expensive and really nice. It's not your average Pavilions or Kroger. It's just nice. I mean, I've seen celebrities there. It's just a nice grocery store. So do I understand like the annoyance of she wants to get a sandwich from Provisions? Yeah. But she's not getting a sandwich at the deli at Walmart. You know what I mean? It's really nice. So, okay.
Well, and then you cut later and then it's closed. She was so disappointed.
Oh my God. I'm surprised.
She was so sad. I would be pissed too.
I'm surprised it was closed.
She's like, I'm starving.
Yeah. I get it, but it's really expensive. I just want the listeners out there who may be unfamiliar. But she does say it's the Bergdorf of grocery stores. So for our listeners out there who don't know what Bergdorf's is, Barney's, Bloomingdale's.
Oh, okay.
Just very high-end department store.
Well, I want to go there.
To Provisions?
Yeah.
Oh, we will.
If it's it sounds like they have some good sandwiches.
Oh, you are going. Oh my God, yes. You are going to love Provisions. Oh, you're going to love Provisions.
Very excited. I love a good sandwich.
So do I. Oh, gosh, sandwiches are good.
I mean, I have to say, if I was one of these women on this trip and all they had was caviar, I would be like, can you take the caviar off and just let me eat the Pringles? Like, that's where, like, to have nothing else other than the caviar, I can understand maybe people being a little let down.
But I thought she had other things.
No, she didn't. She only had the caviar on the Pringles. There might have been some other crackers.
She had crackers, and I think she also had it on cucumbers.
Maybe.
Gross.
But just let me eat some of the Pringles.
Wait. She doesn't have any other snacks there?
No.
How did I fucking...
That's why I think Sai specifically was kind of like, I'm hangry.
But that's after they get there.
That's after they get there, yeah.
I must have not paid attention. I mean, I thought that they had other things.
No. Jenna was the only one that was super pumped about it.
No. Okay, so now I take it back. I'm all for the caviar. And it's fine that they don't like it and they don't know that or Erin doesn't know that they don't like it, but we need to have other snacks there. What?
I know, that's what I'm saying. It's a big assumption to make when you don't have anything else.
Oh, no. And I would have had other things.
And I know, I think in her mind, she's thinking that this is just like, a snack. We're going to go to dinner at 7. The girls are getting here at 3 or 4. Like, this is just a little something to tie us over. But when half the group doesn't even like caviar and you don't have anything else to offer, then I can understand being a little bit like, ooh, I want to go with Uba. Even though it's closed.
The drive to the Hamptons is long. Let's say it's 3 hours. Let's say from door to door, that means packing up, camera crew being there, loading in, loading out, getting onto the drive, getting there. It's probably 5 hours.
Yeah, and we don't see them eating in the car. So I imagine that they are probably hungry.
This is a first season newbie who is learning because we need to have other snacks there. I didn't realize that at first. I was like, oh my God, these women, it's fine that you don't like caviar, but tranquilo.
That's why I think that's why Erin was really annoyed because she's like, oh, great, here we go. Had to strike out with the cheese platter and now I have the caviar, which is really fancy and look at me, but now half the girls don't even eat the caviar and here we go.
Okay, I'm sorry. No. Like, I agree with that to a certain degree, but I didn't realize that she didn't have other things.
Yeah, well.
We need to have a plethora. Mm-hmm. There needs to be things to choose from. We need to have, we do, don't you
That's what I'm
think?
saying. Just get the caviar off and let me eat the Pringles. See, I'm somebody who can evolve. I can work with what I got, but you got to let me work with it. You know?
Yeah, I didn't know that. Well, Jenna shows up.
Well, yeah.
In her little vintage Mercedes.
I
die.
I know. I knew you were going to love that.
It is so Jenna Lyons. I mean, I'm sorry, but it is. It's very Jenna, and I loved it. I was like, oh, great.
Yeah.
We find out she has a house not that far away.
Yeah. It looked like a little tree house.
Oh, it looked so cute. Again, when I saw it, I was like, very Jenna Lyons. The little baby house, like very cutesy, very eclectic is what I would say.
I feel like y'all's aesthetics really line up.
Yeah. Actually, her house, her apartment, rather.
You loved the apartment and you loved...
I love the apartment.
Yeah.
I love her style.
Yeah.
I love that she showed up in a jean jacket.
Oh, yeah. I liked that too.
Very cash, but if you look at her items of clothing, like not so cash in the money. Except for some maybe vintage pieces. I feel like she's kind of one of those people that oscillates and has a mixture of both.
Probably. I bet she does. Without knowing anything, I bet she does.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I feel very connected to Jenna throughout this entire episode, which we'll get into later. But she shows up, and Aaron tries to like kind of prank her or give her a cracker with caviar, and she's like, "Don't do that to me." And because it has the dill on it.
Oh,
she
that's
like
right.
Dill.
It was the dill.
Guys, this is the episode where you find out all the little things that like no one even uses a lot to cook with or eat.
Yeah, I almost missed that moment, but then when she's like, "Don't do that," and Aaron was like, "I wasn't actually going to let you eat it," I was like, "Okay, good one, haha."
Do you like dill?
I honestly,
she's like, I don't even know what it looks like.
Well, no, I know what it looks like, but honestly, like, I'm not a huge pickle person.
Judge you.
I don't care about that fucking shit.
And sigh. Ew.
Gross.
Caviar and pickles.
I honestly don't know. I'm sure I've had it on something. Like, it's probably fine.
Yeah.
I don't really have any idea.
I mean, it smells like pickle. Like
yeah,
dill.
I'm just not a wild pickle fan, but I love other pickled things like banana peppers or like
okay.
Or like even like pickled onions and stuff. Like I love that. So I don't really know what my aversion is to pickles themselves, but we'll see. Maybe I'll try some dill later on.
I mean, I like dill. I typically only use dill when I'm like marinating a salmon or
I'm sure that's great.
Fish.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had it as a garnish.
Yeah.
It's strong. I mean, it smells like pickle.
Yeah.
So I can get not loving it.
Yeah.
But yeah. This is so fun, guys. You're learning all the things they love to eat.
What a great joke.
I mean, we started this episode out with me talking about me being overweight, and I just feel like that's our overall theme is food.
It is. And how the women hate it.
Yeah, so guys, Jesus Christ. It's on theme.
Yeah.
Very much like Sai and her outfits.
Oh, God.
So in our dill hatred discovery, or whatever you would like to call it, Erin in her confessional says that Jen is new to the group, which I think is, again, really important. We kind of talked about it at the top of the episode for them to be peppering in, because I don't think it's lost on the viewers that she feels a little disconnected.
Yeah.
Even if the other women aren't as connected, they feel, for some reason, they feel a little bit more together than Jenna does, which is really important for us because what it proves is that the network or, the producers on the show, they don't think that we're dumb enough to like realize that she's not really connected. Yeah. So they're making it a point because they're picking up, probably when they're filming these scenes, they're probably picking up that she fits very much in the way that we're seeing it. Like she fits, but she doesn't really quite have the footing that maybe some of the other women have.
Yeah.
And through that confessional, what we see is the juxtaposition of Jenna saying that she feels a little awkward. She's nervous to go into this group because she doesn't really do sleepovers. And the sleepovers that she does do are not those type of sleepovers.
Yeah, extracurricular.
So I'm glad that she's saying these things because I think most housewives maybe wouldn't be so keen on being vulnerable or open enough to say that, like, look, I'm nervous. I mean, because and essentially they're all new, right? So they all should be nervous, or maybe it shouldn't be just Jenna, but we're really leaning into that. And I'm happy because it's not lost on us that she feels a little different. And I don't think it's lost on us that Jenna feels a little awkward. Yeah. Not in a way that feels like, oh God, she shouldn't be here. But she does. She feels a little awkward. And I think we get more of a window into that later on. She talks about her mom.
Her mom, yeah.
And growing up with that type of familial dynamic and not really understanding that her mom had Asperger's until later in
Right.
life, which
Yeah.
is the building blocks of why Jenna probably feels a little socially maybe inept or a little awkward.
Yeah.
So that totally tracks.
Yeah. Yeah, that was cool. I mean, we'll get to it later, but I actually liked that insight when she was talking about her mom.
Same.
Because with knowing only the little that we know about her, it makes a lot of sense, I think. But I also agree that I like that she's being very forthcoming with her being nervous, and this isn't something she would typically do, because I think we can feel it.
Yes.
And I think with her just saying it, it allows us to be like, okay, we're all in it together.
Yes, exactly. We're all in the ride.
Yeah.
And speaking of rides,
God, back to the car.
we're back to the car. And I think it was it Sai or Uba who's asking about the activities that they're potentially going to be doing.
I don't know. Maybe probably Sai, because she wants to do the outfits. I don't know. I honestly don't remember.
Well, they pontificate that maybe they're riding horses, which Jess or Jessel says that she hasn't ridden anything in a long time. You know, by the way, she walked into that one and I feel so bad because she was just trying to make a little self-deprecating joke that she hasn't had sex with her husband in a long time and like no big fucking deal, right?
Yeah.
Well, no, not right. Because
that's where you're wrong.
It's shock upheaval. They cannot believe that she hasn't had sex with her husband. Now, we find out later on it's been like, what, 2 years?
Yeah, well, so in the car, she says it's been about a year, but I think, or she says it since my kids were born. Are they twins? I think they're twins.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, anyway,
Don't hate me.
So I think she was like, it's been about a year, but then later she said it's been like a couple of years. So it's however old the boys are. And I guess maybe track on 9 months, so maybe a couple of years.
Yeah, I would say probably from maybe conception to now.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't want to say weirded out, but the women seem like aghast.
Well, I
they
think
are flummoxed.
They're like, let's take this personally. Let's take it personally, and we need to come at you like
you haven't fucked. I haven't fucked. Yeah, I haven't fucked either.
It's as if their sex was dependent on her sex. So they're like, how dare you? Like their reaction, I was like, this is so strong. Like,
it's like they're trying to do the thing where they're like not weirded out, but they're weirded out.
Yeah.
They don't understand it.
No.
They can't.
And especially Sai. I feel like she really took it the hardest. Sai and then Aaron. Once Aaron found out, those two took it the hardest.
Yeah, but Sai was like animated and came off a little judgmental.
Mm-hmm, she did.
Even though I don't necessarily know if that's where her heart is. Mm-hmm. Right now in the car, if we're just speaking about the car ride, it feels like they're just aghast.
Yes.
And I think you brought it up when we were kind of just talking a little bit about the episode prior to getting on the mic. And I think you brought up the fact that like, yes, they're so surprised, but they're being surprised in and of itself, again, lends to they don't know each other as well as we think that they do. Because it's not to say that you tell your best friends that you've known 100 years everything. But I think that with the way that we're seeing these women, and if they were really close, I think that we wouldn't be so surprised that she hasn't had sex in a while. And I just really feel bad for Jessel because she just has no earthly idea that this is going to be a topic of conversation for the rest of the evening.
I know. You can tell that she so badly wants to move on from it, and she's kind of being a good sport about it, like laughing it off and like kind of going along with it, but she's uncomfortable. She doesn't want to keep talking about it.
100%. And what's so indicative of her being uncomfortable is that throughout the entire episode, we kind of hear her kind of spout out like different reasons or rationales why she hasn't had sex. And the first one being in the car, she says that she has a C-section scar and she is like, she has a complex about it. Like she's just not comfortable showing that. And for all the women and those who have reproductive systems out there who have had C-sections, I can understand like that type of a scar. It's just a lot to kind of, especially if your body's not used to that and you're not used to seeing that. I can understand why it feels a little self-conscious.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think she's getting more and more in her head because instead of these women, and not one of them said, oh, I can understand that. Like, oh, I can see how that would be.
None of them. I'm shocked.
And I think most of them have children. I know Sai has children. I know Jenna does and Aaron. I'm not sure about Uba. Does Uba have
I'm
children?
not
I feel like we don't have her
clear.
background yet.
We don't
on,
yet.
Like, in-depth stuff. So
we don't.
But enough of the women on this cast have had children before, or at least a child. Like, even
or
if
by
you,
proxy, known women who haven't had sex in a long time.
So it's like, you know, I think the reason that she's getting more and more kind of uncomfortable in her head as the episode goes on is because she's like faced with all this, oh, well, you need to be doing this. How about we'll take the kids and then you get in lingerie and you do this for your husband. It's like, how about just meet her with some grace and be like, I can understand if you're not feeling yourself right now. And it's not like she's asking, guys, what should I do? She's literally just mentioned this and she's kind of now thinking, oh my God.
I can imagine that when Sai is telling the women that she has this C-section scar that makes her a little insecure or she has a complex about, I think that was her way of trying to put the kibosh on the conversation. Yeah. And it did not happen. Instead, Sai's like, well, cover it up. Just cover it up.
Yeah.
Can't you just cover it up? I mean,
I wouldn't feel good about myself. I'd be like, oh, so I'm doing something wrong. It's my fault.
Exactly. I mean, I personally, I'm trying to think of how I would handle the situation. I personally probably would have stopped after C-section. But if there was room for me to feel comfortable to go forward with the questioning, I would probably I think I would probably do it a little differently. I'd probably say, you know, I totally understand having that insecurity. Like, you know, I've experienced certain things with my body in the past. Have you ever thought about, you know, lingerie that may make you feel a little bit more comfortable if it doesn't show that? Instead, it's just buy something that covers it up.
Yeah.
And hop on your husband's dick.
Yeah. Just do it in the shower. Do it in the shower.
Yeah. Cue Genuine Pony.
Pony.
Yeah.
I did think it was funny though when Sai's like, just jump on it. It'll go real fast.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. I used to always go to a karaoke bar. Do you remember Crazy Horse when we were in Denton?
Please, of course. I have pictures.
So
I have pictures of us at Crazy Horse.
I always go there Thursday night and do karaoke. And there was always this white guy there that had a lazy eye that I was like, oh, I like this guy. And he used to always do Pony. And I was like, wow, meant to be. I just thought about that every time. I was like, look at this guy up there with his lazy eye.
You mean look at his eye? Look at his eye. Look at his lazy eye.
I was into it. But yeah.
We get to the house. Mm-hmm. The women make their way in. Mm-hmm. Okay. Obviously, we know that the toilet paper gag doesn't land. This is where I find out that she actually brought toilet paper, even though I never saw her put it in the car. Maybe it was something I missed. Aaron's like, haha, laugh, funny. Funny, laugh, haha.
So moving on to Caviar.
God, which again, Sai's like, ew, caviar and a chip?
Oh, yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
Guys, Kathy Hilton scooped an entire 8-ounce jar of caviar on a baked fucking potato.
Kathy Hilton can do whatever she wants.
She can. And she really can.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not opposed to caviar and a chip.
I'm not either.
I mean, I haven't had caviar.
Me neither.
But
I've had a chip.
I've seen. Huh?
I've had a chip.
You've had potato chips?
Yeah. So I'm 50-50
Were they Pringles, though?
No, they were.
They didn't look like Pringles.
They were.
They looked dried out.
They looked...
I mean, not dried out. They didn't look dried out. Pringles looked dried out to me.
There were definitely some that were on some original Pringles.
I was hoping they were Utz potato chips.
Oh, no. I don't know about that.
Utz potato chips are the best potato chips.
Well, I didn't know about that.
Yeah. I mean, they're also kind of like low-key complaining about the rooms. I mean, here's what I'll say.
The only one complaining really was Sai because of her space.
Was it?
Yeah.
Well, they did cut to that interview bite with Jessel being like, and I'm in Layla's room or whomever.
Oh, yeah, with the rainbow.
Is that her name? Is it Layla?
Know. The child. Just say, I'm in the child's room.
Guys, we're still learning their immediate families and ancillary characters within the show. So, I mean, I just think it's really interesting because we come to find out later that, you know, we see Sai doing all like the content creating stuff. Mm-hmm. And maybe I just can't see it this way, and maybe I'm closed-minded, but it's kind of hard for me to understand how all of this lives in the same space. We don't like the potato chip. We scoff at the caviar on the potato chip, but we're also interrupting dinner later on to take pictures for content creating. So, like, it's not to say that they can't live in the same space. It just, I don't know. I think the juxtaposition makes me think, like, if you find caviar and a potato chip tacky, why aren't we finding disrupting dinner at, not for nothing, a very nice restaurant in the Hamptons that never really gets clearance to shoot at or film in, rather. but like we're in, you know what I mean?
It's reading a little hypocritical to you.
Yeah, I think so, a little bit. But she may not be able to see that connection.
Yeah.
Because for her, it's content creating. But she's also like picking up people's full martinis
job,
and like moving them around. I know, like moving them around
Yeah.
to take pictures. But I digress.
Yeah.
All the women have arrived. We're now at the Hamptons home of Erin, all together, not eating caviar.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're all sitting in the living room. We're all kind of getting, I think, a little bit more of a window. Just again, I think that's the theme. We're getting a window into all of these women. And Jenna, through bringing up her house in the Hamptons and all that, goes on to explain a little bit because she's not living there, right? So she doesn't have clothes or anything there.
Yeah.
Which I think, the women are like, oh, do you still have stuff there? Because it's not really a trek if you have a home there.
Yeah.
So she gives us a little bit more of a window in. Now, I think that I don't know if I got a little confused about this. So was her mother living there? She said that she had rented her house out to somebody else.
Yes. I don't think the mom was living there. I think she rented it out. And I think maybe she was wanting to sell it or something was happening that it caused her to rent it longer than she had planned on doing so. To me, the renting was like a short-term situation, but because the mom got sick,
it kind of has left empty, or maybe she hasn't really she hasn't dealt with it.
Yeah, and she hasn't lived in it, is what it sounds like. So maybe I'm a little unclear too. I don't know if somebody's living in it right now or what's going on. But
I guess my guess, weird way to say that, but my guess is she had rented it out. The leasees left.
Yeah,
she hasn't really dealt with the home since somebody moved out. Right. She doesn't really have anything there. This is probably her first time back in the Hamptons, period.
Sure.
Since her mom has passed, because I think they overlapped, right? So the house went empty. Then she's talking about her mom getting sick, which is given reason why she probably hasn't been home.
Yeah, and dealt with all that.
Which then Sai asks if they were close, which I found interesting. And you had discussed, like you and I discussed again before the mic, that was kind of interesting to talk about because it's kind of rare that people just from the jump talk about maybe like familial dynamics that were maybe toxic or didn't know. And so she goes on to say that her and her mother were not close.
And they were kind of taken aback. They were like, oh, you weren't? She's like, no. And then she goes on to explain that like her mom had undiagnosed Asperger's syndrome for I guess the majority part of her life. She found out later as an adult.
Yeah, like much later.
Yeah. Which I think is actually kind of typical, especially thinking about, Jenna's what, in her 50s?
She's 55.
So her mom, I don't know when her mom was born, but that seems pretty typical that would have gone undiagnosed. You know what I mean?
Of course, especially if you're born in that boomer. I mean, she's 55, so she's probably technically, she's not a boomer. She's Gen X. But yes, so her parents probably being born, I would assume maybe like in the 40s. They're not going to know those things because we've come so long in understanding mental disorders. Now, again, the women are shocked by that, but that's a lot of, speaking just from my own experience, like that's a lot of conditioning and constructs. We are only really taught to have these relationships with our family. And if you don't, it's weird, right? Like, why aren't you and your mother close? That's strange. Well, I think for some people who have experienced certain situations or circumstances like Jenna, it's not all that strange because you know that there's something off, but you're not quite sure what it is. But you know that your home life, it differs vastly from your other friends. And Jenna actually goes on to say that when she went over to Jessel's house, she was was kind of moved because she saw her mom, Jessel's mom, being there and like being like, quote, just a mom. I mean, I don't
nurturing
think exactly. And I don't think she was doing anything out of the ordinary that any other mom would do, but it was still such an eye-opening experience for Jenna and really like realizing that she didn't really have that.
Right.
And I know, I just think we need to be kinder to those who have parental dysfunction. Or I hate to say dysfunction because it's not like her mom had so much dysfunction. They just didn't know.
Right.
Which again kind of attributes a little bit, I think, to Jenna feeling a little awkward. So I thought that was a nice vulnerable moment we see from her, saying that she got a little emotional.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, I'm glad that she said that because then the women get to know her more. And I think that despite feeling her disconnection, I think she is doing a lot to really
try.
I think she's trying a lot. Yeah. I think she's really giving the women, I think more than most probably would.
Yeah.
I hope it doesn't go unnoticed because of her demeanor is very soft and like calm, but she does, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I did too. I thought that was a good moment.
Oh, I forgot about this. Yeah, so Erin in her confessional actually goes on to say that it makes sense,
Right?
why Jenna feels like a little detached or like a little different as far as like how most people would be like socially. And again, thank God for Erin. I mean, I like Erin. I feel like the way that we've been talking about or recapping rather feels like she's like a little stiff, but I like it.
Well, she is stiff.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess so.
She is stiff, and that's okay. I mean, you know.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think I appreciate
she is
her
not
recognizing
loose at all.
No, but I appreciate her recognizing that Jenna feels like a little awkward. I think.
Yeah.
I think if we didn't have that, I think it would be all against one and not quite understanding her, like a kind of like her makeup, if you will.
Yeah, her demeanor. Yeah, I mean, it's still a very interesting group.
It is very.
I mean, even in that same confessional when Erin is saying that, like, oh, this makes a lot of sense. I'm like, well, you don't. I mean, you only know what you know of her. I mean, it's not like y'all have this long history of, oh, now everything is coming together. It's an aha moment. So I thought that was kind of like comical the way that she said it, as if this like was a big reveal, and it's like, okay,
I didn't see it that way.
But you know what I mean?
But I get your point.
That's how I kind of took it. I was like, all right, let's touch grass. Let's get a little grip.
Correct. Exactly.
We're all getting to know each other here, okay?
We most certainly are.
Yeah.
And then again, Sai nods to the group to help Jessel in the bedroom.
She needs some lingerie.
Well, then
Jenna, help her.
Jenna's like, I have lingerie. How coincidental. Go get it, Jenna. Go get the lingerie.
And I think even Jessel was like, no, we don't need to do this now. Or she says,
I know. They didn't need to do it now. Something tells me that was meant for like a nighttime activity, but here we are.
It's going to carry over.
Sai has to figure out why Jessel, because it's all on Jessel, right? Why Jessel isn't fucking her husband.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yes.
So Jenna goes upstairs. She grabs the lingerie. And while she's gone, Jessel admits again that she hasn't had sex with her husband in 2 years.
Because Erin asked.
Ah, that's right. Erin did ask because she was
goes,
surprised.
When's the last time you had sex? Well, it's in you know, Jessel, it's been a while. Well, what's a while? It's, you know, since my kids. So how long is that? How many days? How many hours? How many minutes? How many seconds?
565,800 minutes. How do you measure a year? You measure with
Love and sex.
So we're talking about 1 million minutes.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So it's been that long since she's had sex with her husband.
Okay.
And all of the women, again, have something to say about this.
Yes.
We've all heard everybody's opinion. I don't understand why we're jumping on her dick about this. I feel like that was a pretty apropos analogy to make. Why are we jumping on her dick about this? Get off her jock. We get it. She hasn't had sex.
Yeah.
We understand.
Yeah.
Okay?
And that's why I kind of wish the women had a little bit more like of a familiar dynamic, because I feel like I wanted her, and granted, we don't know Jessel that well, so maybe this just isn't part of her like her makeup, but like I wanted her to have enough confidence to be like, okay, I don't want to talk about this anymore, because we can see it all over her. She doesn't want to talk about this, but she's just kind of smiling, grinning it and bearing it and going with it because she wants to be, you know, part of the team, a team player. But I wish she would be like, okay, guys, enough, I get it. I don't want to talk about this anymore.
It's not that I don't think that she's conflict averse thus far, what we've seen. I just think, like you said, we're week 2. We're getting to know these women. She's clearly very uncomfortable, and none of the women are picking up on that, by the way,
they're not.
Which is like, whether you know her well or not, we should be reading a room, and we're not reading it.
We're reading it, and we don't know her at all.
Correct.
I mean,
but they're still talking about it. And like you said, I think that she's like, it's week 2. I don't want to ruffle feathers. Like, I get it. I'm just let them talk about it. And I like you do wish that she could be in a place where she could do that. But at the same time, she's one against all these other women. They should be picking up that she doesn't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
So Jenna comes down with lingerie and she passes it out to everyone. And what I find really funny is that the one person who they're all like, lingerie, cover up your C-section.
Sex it up.
Sex it up. Jump on his dick. Ride my pony. Okay? Giddy up. She hates the lingerie. And I got to be honest, it's ugly color.
Yeah, JJ didn't like it either.
Well, because at first I didn't understand the Christmas reference. in the title of the
either.
episode. But when I did see the lingerie, I did point out that it was a Christmas color. But again, I didn't think that we were going to give an entire title just to the color of the lingerie.
Yeah.
But we're here. And it's not the best. It's not the best color. Best color. It's abysmal. It's gross. I don't like that color. Do you like that color? It's like an aquamarine teal.
No, but yeah, but I don't. But unlike you, I didn't look at that and think Christmas, only because it did seem like a different type of green for me.
Yeah.
But obviously, I'm wrong because it's titled Christmas tree. So,
well, it's not that evergreen color, but it is like a cartoon color.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was ugly, but I mean, I'm bad at all that. You know, the fashion stuff. Which I know you'll point out something later that I was like, you're going to have to explain to me what this means. But I just, you know, you got to take the cue from Jessel, because Jessel received it and she goes, wow, well, I'm basically covering up everything. Remember, she's like, this is the most modest one of all. And then Jenna's like, no, look at this one. This is modest for me. And it was like a black,
because
nightgown, basically.
She talks about her genetic disorder.
Oh, that's right.
So she knows that she got the one that's the most covered up because she wants to cover up. She's uncomfortable.
Some insight that we did not know.
But again, if Jenna's uncomfortable with showing certain parts of her body because she has this genetic disorder, why is that any different than Jessel saying, I don't want to have sex with my husband right now because I'm insecure about my C-section scar?
Well, they're not reading it that way.
Of course they're not. And they're not going to read it again later on.
They're reading it like, you're not trying hard enough. You need to try harder.
It's ridiculous. And I'm kind of embarrassed. I got to be honest with how young these women are. We're in a different, they're all millennials. I'm a little embarrassed.
Yeah.
Why, how can they not see? It's so clear, you know? It's so
crystal
clear. Yeah. So the women are getting ready to go to Topping Rose. But before they leave the house, Jenna, because she can't help herself, and I love this about her, tells Jessel she needs to cool it with the fucking labels. She's wearing both an Alexander Wang label, not just the label like she's wearing it. I mean, it says Alexander Wang on the back of the coat that she's wearing. And she's choosing which purse she's going to bring. And the purse that she wants to bring, which Jenna catches her trying to make a decision on, she wants to bring a Balenciaga purse. It's not just the label Balenciaga. It has actually the label Balenciaga on the purse. Jenna's like, one or the other.
Too much.
You don't get to wear both. And when she said that, I was cheering. I was cheering from the stands.
You felt seen?
Yeah, I did. And here's what I'll say. I'm just not a big labels person in general. I wear labels, but you're not going to see me wearing head to toe Louis Vuitton like Dorit, which is always like a perfect example in a comp. That is intentionally kitschy. She's meaning it to be kind of like over the top. But if you're wearing a big Alexander Wang label and a Balenciaga label, which I'll get to in a second why both of those are very problematic, like it's too much. And so you just wouldn't do that technically, or so to speak. You wouldn't wear both big names together. Now, this was filmed before the Balenciaga scandal, so I hope I don't sound like I'm on a high horse. That I'm okay with. We need to stop wearing Alexander Wang there's a lot of reasons, but one of them is because it was alleged that he would grope models and he drugged models to have sex with them.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I
don't know anything about this.
It was a long time ago. It was probably at the beginning of the pandemic, and it's all kind of been, quote, squared away because Alexander Wang came out on Instagram with a public apology, and Lisa Bloom, the attorney who was representing the victims, also said that things have been, it's fine. AKA there was a payout because that is the only fucking way. Yeah. And we haven't heard from those victims since. So that leads me to believe there's a payout and they can't talk about it, which happens all the time, right? I find him disgusting. And before it was ever out in public that he had been doing this, I already knew stories because I have friends who work in fashion and are very close to that industry and had already told me the stories and the things that are pervasive and been kind of passed around in fashion, because much like our industry in the music industry is very small. So I just kind of find it gross. And I know that he paid them out and everything's kind of, quote, okay, whatever. I just find it kind
but
of
not really.
No. And for me, the Alexander Wang, I'm like, come on, Jessel.
Yeah.
No more Alexander Wang. I said the same thing about Lisa Rinna because she's obsessed with Alexander Wang because he gave her girls kind of a leg up in the fashion industry and they became the faces of his brand, which was during the time of all the allegations, which is I was grossed out about. But I won't hop on that high horse for too long. Really, the problem here is we don't wear both brands. So I was here for Jenna. I was like, Jenna, yes, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate you. Yeah. Appreciate you so much.
That went way over my head because I was like, I don't like, because I don't know anything about labels. I don't know anything about that kind of fashion stuff. So I didn't know if it was like they were just conflicting designers, or like it was just like you don't wear multiple labels, it's obnoxious or it's too much.
You can wear multiple labels at once. I think the problem is seeing the actual like Alexander Wang in white letters or whatever it was on her jacket, and then the purse says Balenciaga very big. People wear a bunch of different shit at the same time. They just don't usually
it's
wear
not as
it
obvious or in your face.
Yeah, like I imagine. Do you know what the Gucci emblem looks like?
Yeah.
Okay, so imagine wearing
that's about the only one.
A Gucci blouse.
I did see that movie with Lady Gaga in it.
With a Louis Vuitton leather jacket that has the LV on it.
Okay.
So that's really what she's trying to say. Okay. It's like kind of like wearing the labels like that. It's just a lot.
Yeah.
It overlaps.
Well, she listened. She put that purse down right away and grabbed that other thing.
She did. But again, it's not just Jenna scolding her in the moment. She can't help in an interview be like, she's in fashion.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Which is funny. I feel like we're gonna get a lot of that, and I think it's gonna irritate people. If I'm being completely truthful. Because she can't help it.
You're gonna love it.
I mean, to a point. I already feel like I sound entitled and pompous on this recording.
That's okay. You can be the Jenna and I'll be the Jessel because I don't know anything. Well, I mean, obviously Jessel knows way more than I do, but
well, I don't know. We'll see. We arrive at Topping Rose. It's a very nice restaurant.
It looked cute.
I don't think we have filmed in there, which we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, it didn't look familiar.
No, I feel like that's a big deal. It is in the off season, so maybe they're a little bit more open. But I think that they have enough cachet to allow us into certain restaurants and things that we may not have been allowed to film with like people like Ramona. Because the truth is that these people know these women. And I'm not talking about the new cast, I mean the old cast.
Yeah.
So they're probably over time, it maybe became increasingly not difficult. Maybe you had to pay more. And I think with these women, we're going to be allowed, I hope, I'm crossing my fingers, that we're going to be allowed into certain places that we may have not been allowed to see or film in the past seasons because these women
are wacko.
They're wackadoodle. I mean, come on now. Come on. Do we not remember Ramona at the, what was it? The Black Shabbat?
Oh, God.
I can't.
I tried to forget all about that.
Yeah. By the way, I was happy that they showed us Shabbat in the first episode because I think almost it was a nod to what we had to see in the past, which was like horrifying.
Yeah, it was. It was horrific.
So we're at the restaurant. Your favorite thus far, Uba.
Oh, she is my favorite.
She pulls out a compass. Due north. Licks her finger. What's the wind? You feel that? It's changing. I have to sit here.
What's so funny is I always do the little shtick of like, I gotta, like, if I'm like playing volleyball or like some game outside, I'm like, let me see where the wind is. And I always lick my finger and do that, even though I have no fucking earthly idea really, if it actually works or how it can help me. But so when she said that, I thought that was really funny. Now I did not understand the compass stuff, but listen, to each their own. She said she wants to face north for like energy.
Yeah.
Is that what she said? Like,
I think so. She didn't, I mean, I don't recall her giving like a big explanation. I think it's just like a thing.
Yeah. She's like, I have to.
Again, an idiosyncrasy. Like it's a thing of hers.
Well, I think the group at first was like, oh, this is kind of like a joke. But they're like, oh, wait, no, she actually might really care about this.
She does.
I mean, I guess enough to have some type of app on your phone that tells you.
Well, I think the hallmark of her personality feels very jokey and like whimsical and fun. So it's hard to ascertain if sitting and facing north is something that is either like she's trying to be funny or, I mean, we found out with the bananas, they thought that she was joking.
Yeah, and she wasn't.
And she was not. So
that's why I love her. I feel like, you told me that like you feel like you read comments, people feel like she might be putting it on or being over the top. I just think that some people really in life are just over the top. And I feel like this is actually just who she is and she's being very authentic. And for me, it's landing.
It feels natural to me.
I'm loving it.
Because I've worked with cast who, when I'm there in person, they're behaving that over the top type of feeling that I think viewers are seeing. And it's not, it doesn't read. It doesn't read as this is just who they are. It actually reads like they're doing too much. And it annoys me as a producer because I can tell that they're trying to step into that role. Now, again, I'm not there in person, but what I can see, it feels this is naturally just kind of who she is.
Yeah.
I mean, guys, her cousin is Chanel Ayan.
Yeah.
And they're first cousins, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that really kind of says, I think, a lot about each of them because, you know, they're related and their parents raised them. So there's obviously connection there.
There is.
Okay. So we talked about it earlier. Uba doesn't drink. And I forgot, I have this in my notes. She smoked weed once.
Oh.
And hospital straight.
I loved that.
Is that
hospital
scary?
Straight? No.
Because Uba's had to go to the hospital?
No.
I think that's
I
funny.
loved that.
Like, how much weed did she fucking do? She had to have done enough to feel like I need to go to the hospital.
Or maybe she was just super paranoid. You know, who knows?
Yeah. Oh.
I love that though. Hospital straight.
Straight. Okay, so Jessel asks what the plan is for tomorrow. And God, Erin can't even get in, like, that she wants breakfast before, like, no. Workout? What are we doing? No. Coffee? No coffee. Good coffee? Bad coffee.
Tea.
Third wave coffee? Two wave coffee? One wave coffee. What are we doing? Are we going to coffee or we're not going to coffee? Are we waking up? Are we working out? Are we sweating? What are we doing? Here's what I'm going to say about this. It's like I'm caught between a rock and a hard place. I think that they're being annoying, but at the same time, why the fuck did Erin not ask them what they expect in the morning? It's like, why didn't we ask the women what they liked?
Well, same thing with the caviar. Well, I mean, it's all the same.
I'm going to contradict myself because earlier I said I like it from a producing standpoint. At this point, I feel like we should have asked what they may have wanted to do. You know?
Yes, I agree. But the breakfast thing, they're not even talking really about food. They're just saying, oh, well, we're working out. We're not going to want to eat before we work out. And so Erin's like, okay, so we'll just do coffee. And then Jenna's like, well, I only do dreamy coffee. And then she's like, what? And then Erin's like, okay, well, we'll figure out what that is, and then we'll just have, you know, layman's coffee. And the other girls are like, no, we want the dreamy coffee too. I mean, I think they're kind of joking at this point, but, you know, I mean, Erin, you know, she just cannot win at all.
No, she can't.
But I did love, I think it was Uba, but I think when Erin's like, okay, girls, like in the morning, we're probably going to be hungry, right? And I think Uba goes, starving. I just like...
No caviar, no cheese, only water and air. What is it?
Until prom.
Water and X-Lax till prom.
Yeah.
Oh, God. That's what I'm going to be doing to shed those 50 pounds. Water and X-Lax, guys.
Until BravoCon.
No, please, I eat. Give me a break.
We'll be wearing trash bags. Now?
Didn't we talk about for anonymity? We were like, we'll put paper bags over our heads with little holes cut out in our eyes.
Yeah. We'll be like little ghosts. I love it.
You think people will see us and they'll go, ooh, I don't clock her as being 50 pounds overweight. So it's not her. It's somebody else.
It's a body double.
God, I can't. I honestly cannot. All right. So we're at the dinner table. This is kind of, and we talked about it already, but this is kind of where I was like, Sai, why don't you rein in grabbing people's drinks while in the middle of drinking them to take your content creation picture? Okay.
She's got to create.
She can't handle caviar on a potato chip, but we're going to interrupt dinner to take a picture. Okay. Yeah. We're also going to, again, bring up the fact that Jessel hasn't had sex yet with her husband in 2 years. Okay. I just, you know, leave it alone. I'm glad it segues into getting a broader perspective of Jenna's sex life, I guess, or who she's dating, because for whatever reason, I think, like, don't they ask Jenna, like, what about you? Do you have sex more than once in the same moment?
That's right.
Because Uba, again, to a surprise to everyone, she's like, I don't have sex more than, like, I have sex more than once in an occasion. Like, we have sex and we have sex again.
It's not worth me taking off my clothes if we're just going to have sex one time.
Correct. Which the women are like, again, so shocked. What?
Yeah.
You have sex more than, okay, so what do they want? If you don't have sex, they're like, you need to jump on that pony. Jump on, ride his dick. Yeah. Take me to another place. Never
dimension.
Honestly, like fucking, what is it?
But
Never-ending story.
You can only have sex one time a night, missionary, for 3.5 minutes, and that's it. A cold out at 3.5.
Yeah.
But and shower separately.
If you have more sex in one instance, meaning I guess you've come several times, that's crazy. That's a lot. How do you do that?
Remember, she's a starfish. That's what Erin says. I guess I could have sex multiple times a night if I'm a starfish.
Yeah, I just think that's so funny because I've never heard anybody on Bravo talk about starfish lovers. And so when they brought that up, I was like, oh, this is how I know we're dealing with like millennials. Yeah. Because it's like a not necessarily a term only for millennials, but it's only...
Well, we've never heard it on...
No, so I was laughing because I was like, I know exactly what that is.
Yeah.
But I've only ever really heard it in terms of same-sex relationships, which we'll get into it in a minute.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know.
I mean, yeah.
Okay.
It's just like pillow princesses.
Yeah.
You know?
I do know what that is.
Do you?
Yeah, I've been learning, well, not over just the past few months, but like I have a lot of close friends that are lesbian, and they've taught me terms throughout the years. Lesbianist.
Yeah.
So I do know what a pillow princess is.
So Jenna is like, yeah, I mean, I have the ability to do that, but it is different with same-sex relationships, which, as our listeners may or may not know, and I've kind of brought it up before, I don't tend to go too much into my personal life, but I date women and I've dated men. So I'm very familiar with being able to have sex more than like once in an evening, right? So it's not that surprising to me. You're able to do that too in heterosexual relationships, but I think that they're not like attuned with that. They don't think
they're
that's
teach me. Again, Sai's like, teach me what's it like. She then really goes into the story about like how she was outed, but I think they were like really wanting her to like tell them like what's the sex life.
Well, it just goes to show that they don't know everything. Yeah. So to hear them talking about what Jessel needs to be doing, but then at the same time and in the same breath, they're like, wait, you can have sex more than once in one moment, in one occasion? No. Well, guys, because we don't know everything about everybody's sexuality.
Right.
It's not one size fits all. Just kind of a weird thing to say. But then again, we get into the window of Jenna and coming out. And the women are asking her, you know, kind of like how that happened, how that came to be, which I'm happy that Jenna wants to talk about it. It's not that I have a problem with the way that they're asking, but I think more often than not, when women broach that type of conversation with like the lesbian in the group or like the gay in the group, it can lend to a connotation of like, it's just, you don't typically just like
they're kind of overstepping, like it's a little bit too
like,
much.
They're not broaching it incorrectly, and I don't think that they're necessarily saying anything that's inappropriate. But they're lucky, so to speak, to have somebody like Jenna who's open to talk about it, because it is something that
might be a triggering situation.
Yes, and I think that because they're talking about Jessel's sex life, it makes it easier for them to feel like they can talk about same sex, which they can.
Yeah.
But does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does.
So I think that there's a space here where I'm giving kudos to Jenna to kind of taking in the questions without being like critical, which I think that some people probably would be more often than not.
Yeah.
So they ask her how it kind of came to be. So they asked Jenna how her coming out and kind of the realization that she's lesbian or she dates, you know, same sex. She's sex oriented, as they say in Clueless. So she kind of goes on to say that there was not a lot of representation as far as like homosexuality. And the only representation that she really was ever shown was gay men. Right? So she's in her 40s. She's feeling a certain type of way about her husband. They're obviously on the trajectory of divorce. And she's hanging out with her lesbian friend. And she's just slowly starting to ask questions like, you know, very much in the same way that I think the women at the table are. Like what's the deal? Like, how did this come to be? And through that questioning, by the end of that conversation with her lesbian friend, she's like, oh my God, I want to make out with her. I don't know what to do. And what's so interesting is that in that moment, or in that like, aha, you know, come to Jesus moment, I really resonated because my experience in dating women, it was the same way.
Yeah.
It's not that I was opposed. I had a lot of lesbian friends, I had a lot of gay friends, but I just don't think I didn't allow myself to be open to that because I didn't recognize it as something that maybe I could be open to or would be open to. And I do think that some of that is suppression. Now, I didn't feel like I couldn't come out of the closet. I just didn't recognize it. And a lot of people, they don't. I know a lot of people who have had friends who are LGBTQ+, and they themselves don't realize it until they're older. And they're like, oh, well, this all makes sense. Yeah. So I really felt that way. Like that resonated because for me, it was the same. I went to a party, met this chick who, unbeknownst to me, she was absolutely straight, and she is, but she occasionally, you know, would hook up with chicks. And I just felt this connection, like this energy. And I was like, what does this mean? Anyway, long story short, you know, the next day I'll fast forward through I'll fast forward. or rather the next week, because I ended up hanging out with her later. I was like, oh my God. Okay.
It's like a spark.
Honestly, I did. And then I left men.
Yeah.
Peace.
See ya.
Peace. See ya. Wouldn't want to be ya. So I understood that immensely. Her coming out, I mean, she didn't get to.
Yeah. Wow. It got taken from her.
Yeah. So what's interesting is that the way that she kind of was forced to come out was the same way that Caitlyn Jenner was forced to come out. So when I was working on I Am Kate, I actually was sitting with Caitlyn and a couple of other people, and we were talking about, I don't really know how we got into the conversation, but basically Caitlyn was explaining to us like her coming out and like how she was kind of pushed into coming out, and explaining to us that I think it was Harvey from TMZ, Harvey Levin. If I can remember, please don't quote me on that. Hope this doesn't make page 6. But anyway, from my understanding, they called Caitlyn and they said, we know this. We know Bruce at the time, but Caitlyn, we know that you're transgender and we're going to come out with the story. So we're going to give you enough time to figure it out on your own. But we're going to come out with the story anyway. I just want everyone to know how devastating something like that is.
Yeah, I bet.
Especially when you're just not ready to do it yet. Like at the time, I know that Caitlyn was like gearing up and was preparing to come out to say that they were transgender. But when somebody forces it down your throat like that, it's really unsettling and it's shitty because you're just not prepared to answer all the fucking questions.
Yeah.
So when I remember Caitlyn telling me that story, I just, despite what we think about her now, whether you're against or supportive because of their own political, that means nothing to me. But specific to this circumstance, I really felt really bad because I didn't know that. I didn't know that that's what happened.
Yeah.
I knew, obviously, I remember when Caitlyn came out, but I didn't know that that was the trajectory. I was a little disappointed because we all know that TMZ is in Kris Jenner's pocket. So something tells me...
God, I didn't even think about that.
I did, because I was just like, really, Kris? Okay. And again, I don't know all the nuance and all the details, so I can't really go, making big judgment, sweeping statements. But it's just really shitty. I'm sad for her that that's how it happened. Now, she's grateful that it happened the way that it did, but we do come to find out that her mother wasn't exactly thrilled. And for those who have come out and experienced that, we all know how that can be and what that's like, and that's really shitty. So for that, I really feel for her because it just sucks. Like, I remember when she's, supposedly came out, and I remember thinking, like, what the fuck? I mean, she says in the episode that she had only been dating
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
That's crazy.
First girlfriend, first same-sex relationship, dating. And I don't even want to call it a relationship because they weren't exclusive or anything like that then. They were just kind of testing the waters. I do think it ended up being the girlfriend that she had for a very long time, but that's just fucking sucks.
Yeah, it's shitty.
It does. It's just fucking shitty. It sucks.
I feel like you would feel like you were robbed of something because it's such a delicate situation anyway. And you, even coming out under your own circumstances, you don't know that there's any guarantees for anything. You don't know who's going to accept you. You don't know if the job, I mean, it sounded like it worked out, but it's like,
you just don't know
to have to be on somebody else's timeline. And especially it being that new to her when she's still trying to identify and figure things out.
Correct.
What a shitty thing.
Again, I can speak from experience and I won't go too much into it, but I felt like I had to out myself very early on. And it was like in the first month of me dating women.
Yeah.
And it was like, you're just like, fuck, God, you just can't, like, I can't have the space. Jesus Christ.
I know.
Again. And then I was like, I'm not going to lie. I'm not. Because I have too much integrity. Well, I came out and that did not end well for me. And, years later,
here we are.
Well, and here we are.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Erin asks Jenna if she's dating anybody. Now, I'm curious how you feel about this. I really want your take. She says that she is. But, as we come to find out, it's something that Jenna doesn't... It's not that she herself is like, no, I don't want to put my relationship out there. But she does acknowledge that their partner or girlfriend or whomever, they don't want the limelight like that. They did not sign up for this. So she's respecting that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, cop out.
Okay, so what are your thoughts on this?
My thoughts when I was watching that, I was thinking, I don't know that Jenna's really into this, and this might be a one and done on Jenna's account. I don't know that Jenna wants to really be in this for the long haul.
You mean the show?
The show. And so whether that ends up being true or not, I could see her, because I think we talked about this last week or last episode when, we could see her just wanting to try this out, wanting to see if she'd had fun, wanting to just, give it a shot.
Sure.
Because maybe this first season, maybe we can let that slide that she doesn't want to have her partner shown on the show, but that's not going to be something that is able to continue to go in a real way if she's on the show for multiple seasons. I just don't know that it's just too soon to tell because it's 2 episodes. I just don't know if she's enjoying this that much that it might not matter because this might be the only time she's on the show. But I will say, we have to hold her feet to the fire just like we would hold anybody else's feet to the fire for not showing a relationship that's personal to them.
But do we hold her feet to the fire or the network for allowing this? Because if she's saying this early on.
Well, the network.
Yeah.
I would say.
It is clear to me that I don't think she bamboozled them. I don't think that she reeled them in saying, I'm going to do the show. I'm going to talk about all this stuff. And then week 2 comes in and they're at the dinner. And then she's like, you know what? I'm backtracking.
No, I would blame the network. And I also think that we've kind of mentioned this last week that she's kind of the heavy hitter. She's the one that people knew of before anybody else. So, and I'm not saying this for her. I'm not saying that she feels like she's holding all the cards and we need her more than she needs us. I'm not trying to put that projection on her, but I think there's a feeling because maybe she was a big get, they're going to maybe let her slide with a few more things because they're excited they got her on the show.
I just don't think she's that big of a get to
I
allow
don't
this to
know.
slide.
I didn't even know who she was, but I think I'm the anomaly. I think that a lot of people did know who she was.
But they may know of her, but I think I'm the anomaly. I think people who really know her, it's a very niche subsect. Like, if you know fashion, you know Jenna Lyons. If you know like J. Crew and the history behind that, you know Jenna Lyons. But I don't know, maybe.
Well, what do you think as the producer? I mean, that's what I really want to know.
It's interesting because in listening to her explain why we're not seeing the personal relationship or seeing her partner or, why she's explaining it to us, it's very authentic in the sense that I don't think that she's crutching on the girlfriend. I don't think that she's using the girlfriend as almost a guise or a conduit to say, I can't do this because X, Y, and Z. Like, she's not making the decision and then saying it's the girlfriend. I think the girlfriend legitimately doesn't want to be in the show. And I really believe that she told them and they said, it's okay. Now, I don't understand why we're giving a pass because it feels very hypocritical. And for everything that I say on this podcast about that, this goes against a lot of what I've said that the network typically does not do, because we've seen it before. Sutton was supposed to be an A cast member. Well, she was bumped to a friend of because at the last minute, her husband did not sign off on the kids, which now you need both parents to sign off on kids being shown. But because they couldn't be shown, the network knocked her down to a B, to a friend of. Mm-hmm. Okay. We've seen it on Southern Charm. We've seen it on other housewife franchises where if they're not showing the kids or their personal life in any iteration
outside of the group,
they're typically not an A cast member. They're certainly not standing in the front and in the middle holding the apple.
Yeah.
Now, I cannot put a lot of blame on her for that because I know it's the network that approved that. So my frustration goes to, as a producer, and it's so funny because executive producer and I were actually talking about this. What's the benchmark then? What allows a housewife to not be able to show their kids and to be able to show their kids? What allows them to be an A cast member without any type of familial dynamic? Mm-hmm. We've talked about it with Marge. We don't see her kids.
Yeah.
So it just goes against everything that I've been taught as a producer and what I have to expect out of cast members. Because now we're going to have problems on the next show that I go to that is Bravo. I guarantee you that if we have a new cast member who can't show X, Y, and Z, they're going to start bringing other cast members on other shows up as an example. And how do you fight that? I don't know what the protocols or the stipulations were for Jenna. Do we see her son? We haven't seen him yet, right?
Right. We just saw a picture.
Okay, so we saw his face?
Yes.
Okay, so we know that we're allowed to at least show his face in that facet. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean we're going to necessarily be able to see him in scenes.
In a real way.
Exactly, because people will just have carve outs like that. Like they'll say like, this is an appearance relief. This is an appearance release, but it's just specifically for photos, inserts, things like that.
Yeah.
An appearance release is a catch-all, but it could just depend. I'm kind of caught in the middle. Like I'm annoyed. I'd like to see the girlfriend. I also know who she's dating, which I won't say on the podcast.
Okay.
Because obviously she doesn't want us to know. I'm sure it's out there. You can probably Google it. I know who she's dating. Who she's dating is not a person who would be perceived as like famous, but they have notoriety in what they do, like in their own right.
Sure.
They're not known. They have a lot of followers on Instagram. All of that persists. But if the girlfriend doesn't want to do it, what are you supposed to do?
Right.
I mean, and I believe her. I don't think that it's her like trying to hide it.
I would think it would be the network.
I don't know.
But we just don't know enough yet.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think we'll have a better read on it once the season plays out. We'll see if she gets questioned again. We'll see if the cast ever really kind of brings it up in a real way. So I don't know.
Well, we see Sai be like, this is not fair. Like we should be able to have a window in. Like if I'm supposed to be getting to know this new person, I want to get to know all of them. Mm-hmm. If my husband is coming around and I'm introducing my husband to everyone, why don't we get to
meet the girlfriend?
The girlfriend.
I get that.
So yeah, I mean, it's kind of tough. And like you said, I agree. I think we need to see more, but I'm kind of caught between a rock and a hard place because I can always tell when a cast member just simply does not want to show. And they've gotten away with it, like Cameron Eubanks on Southern Charm.
Oh, yep.
And I thought she was the litmus for Bravo, but apparently not. So, because after they allowed her to do that, they were like, never fucking again, because it poses problems for storytelling later on. And what it does is it allows that certain cast member to feel an entitlement, and I can do whatever the fuck I want, and you're just gonna have to deal with it type shit, because we have to cover Catherine and all of that calamitous bullshit.
Mess,
But Cameron, she just gets to not show her kid, but she also gets to then show her kid on Instagram. So it's just kind of tough. And I think it is by franchise, even though that's not really the best answer that I would like to give. That's not.
We'll just have to give it time. We'll have to see.
Yeah.
How it evolves.
One last thing before we move on from Jenna. This is one of those things where I found it really interesting. So Erin, I think either in her confessional or at the table, because I think the audio bite overlaps, she says that she feels bad that people couldn't be themselves for so long in terms of being able to come out. And she feels bad for Jenna and what happened to her. And again, I kind of liken this to just kind of going back to Jessel. Why is it that we feel bad that Jenna had to come out the way that she did? Yeah. And we can feel compassion for that, but yet it's a free-for-all conversation in terms of talking about how much she's having sex, when she's having sex, and why she's not having sex, and how many years she's had sex. All of that is part of sexuality, guys.
Yeah.
And I'm not shaming them because they just they don't see it that way.
I know. They don't.
And I get it because a lot of people won't, but it is very similar. And I think that we have to be a little bit more peripheral in the way that we view stuff like that, because it is the same. And then that kind of dovetails into why isn't Jessel having sex in the shower? Can't she just have sex in the shower? Yeah. Because she said she doesn't have time to have sex. Why can't you have sex in the shower? Yeah. Why can't you have sex at night when the kids are asleep? I just don't understand why we keep going back here. I want it to stop.
Yeah.
She's not comfortable. Leave it alone. Yeah. I don't get it.
Yeah. I'm telling you, they're like taking it on like it's their own personal problem. And here's the thing, like, it would be one thing if Jessel was like, yeah, guys, I don't know what to do. Do you have any tips? Like, what do you think I should do? That's not happening. Literally, all she said was, well, I haven't had sex in a while. She hasn't even asked anybody for any advice, any tips, anything. But they use that as a window into being like, oh, we need to give you tons of advice. Obviously, you don't know what to do.
Correct.
Maybe she just doesn't feel good about herself. Okay? I mean, it's really that simple.
But if she said that, outside of what she's already said, like, hey, I'm a little self-conscious about my C-section. That's about as close as we've gotten to, I don't feel good about myself.
Right.
If she says, I don't feel good about myself, what do you think the narrative is then? She's insecure. Guys, Jessel's insecure. She said it from the jump. She's insecure. She doesn't feel good about herself. She's insecure.
Yeah.
So she's not trying to do that. I can sense that she's not trying
She doesn't want to put that label on herself.
No, she's not trying to go to a place of like, oh, I'm just so ugly. Like, she's not trying to go there. very much in the same way that she thought that it ended when she said that the C-section scar is the reason why she doesn't want to have sex. I think we need to give this a rest, and I feel like we're going to talk about it again when we come up next week on the episode. It's going to come up again.
Well, we saw a flash when they did the seasonal trailer where I think it was like a joke, but Jessel or maybe it wasn't Jessel, maybe it was Brent. I don't know. Whoever it was insinuating like, oh, why don't you come into our marriage and like let's have a threesome or something. Bye. And I remember Jenna in her confessional being like, if you haven't had sex in a couple years, I don't think bringing me in is going to help at all.
Oh, no. Guys, also, us LGBTQ plus folk, we're not saviors in the bedroom.
Damn it.
When I came out, the first thing that one of my guy friends said to me was, hey, if you're ever looking for a third in a threesome, let me know.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. I got a lot of that. Really nasty. Another guy friend of mine came to me and said, look, JJ, I know that you recently come out. I saw that and I'm so happy for you. But I feel like there's something that I want to get off my chest that I never had the opportunity to, and I feel like this is my moment. And I've always had a crush on you. And I was just curious, like, if there was room for one more time before you fully come out.
Is this real?
I wish that I was joking.
How come I did not know this?
Because I probably because there were so many other things going on at the time, I just didn't tell you. But
that's just
I had at least a handful of people
for us right there.
Yeah. And that's I just always liked you, and I just want to know if there's like one last chance.
You just haven't had the right dick yet. And I'm it for you.
If I didn't want to fuck you while I was questioning, I certainly don't want to fuck you now.
Right.
That's how that goes. So I just think it's funny. I'm not shaming the women because Jenna obviously doesn't care. And I would be the same. I've had people ask me questions and I can always tell when it's coming from a place of just being completely offensive or ignorant. And I can also tell when it's coming from a place of curiosity. What they're saying could be perceived as offensive, but they're not trying to. They're actually trying to learn.
Yeah.
So I can ascertain the two.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
I want to let it rest.
I'm going to let it rest.
Yeah,
I just want her to not feel like she has to answer to all these fucking questions. Maybe that's why she has such a feeling about the lingerie later on at the house.
Yeah, because she doesn't feel good in it.
Correct.
And I understand like the women are getting kind of up in arms because they're like, wow, what she's saying is really rude. Well, guys, what she's saying is that she doesn't like her body right now. It really has very little to do with the lingerie. Yeah, maybe she doesn't like it. Maybe she doesn't like the colors, but she does not feel good inside this lingerie that is labeled large. And she's making that clear.
God. Well, I feel like because the women are so pushy on, you need to do this, you need to pop on your husband's dick and all these things.
Yeah.
I think she feels like she has to put the lingerie on right now, even though she doesn't really like the color. So I think her aggravation with the lingerie is a little misdirected. I think that she's just feeling the pressure of like, I hate my body right now, or like I'm not.
And she didn't want to do it. She mentioned twice in that episode, I don't want to do this right now. I don't want to put it on. But she did it anyway.
And then it being a large, which I think they're probably sample sizes. Obviously, Jessel is not a large, but with some of the lingerie, I think the difference between a medium and a large is not that much of a difference because lingerie is so fitted to begin with. I just feel really bad for her.
Yeah.
I just feel really bad for her. And not for nothing, before they even get to the house, after Uba steals the coconut cream, she comes in hiding it in her pants and Sai's like, look, Jessel, this is going to be your husband when you're ready to pop on his dick. It's like, enough. Leave her alone.
They had to go so far
Read the room.
to do a visual effect.
I'm done. Stop it. And we're going to have to talk about this again.
God.
We're going to have to come talk about this again.
Well, there are, I was reading, well, let me take that back. I was on TikTok and I was scrolling. I was trying to elevate myself. I was scrolling and I came across a few different like content creators that really believe, they always think there's always that one housewife that comes on a show to get divorced. And right now, after episode 2, they're putting their money on Jessel. They're like, we think Jessel might be coming on to get divorced. Now, I'm not jumping on that train right away, but I just thought it was interesting.
Do I understand the POV from the women at the table not understanding why she hasn't had sex and it's been so long and that feels like foreign to them? Yes, I do. I understand that. But
everybody has their own relationships and their own situations. Not everyone is designed the exact same way.
Something tells me that if we did a roundup at the table and I asked, who here and I want everyone to go down the line, has had sex with her husband when they did not want to. Raise your fucking hand right now.
Mm-hmm.
And all of them, including Jenna, when she was married to a man, would probably say, yeah, I've had sex when I didn't want to. Wouldn't it be nice if you had the ability to go, I don't want to have sex tonight, so I'm not going to?
Yeah. Yeah.
But none of them are chiming in going, I've been there.
That's what I mean.
That's what's annoying to me. It's
coming across as judgmental, and no one is even saying, oh, we understand.
No way am I going to believe that all of those women have all had sex with their husbands or boyfriends or whomever when they haven't wanted to.
Right.
I'm not going to believe that.
No, I agree.
Because I myself am a woman. I have had sex with men and women. And let me tell you, I will say, I have said I'm not interested in having sex. I don't feel good about my body. Yeah. So we haven't had sex in a long time. There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, it's also nobody else's business.
Correct. And that's also assuming that her husband is a person who's sitting there looking at other women, wanting to figure out why they like, what if he's okay with it? He probably is.
Yeah.
Maybe he isn't. But maybe he's like, you know what? I'm sacrificing what I want right now because my wife isn't happy about how she feels. So instead of me pushing sex on her during a time where she doesn't want to have sex, I'm just letting it ride because that's how relationships are.
Yeah.
Okay? Well, men fake orgasms too, not for fucking nothing.
Yeah. I did think it was interesting though when that very, very small clip that we got when she was on the phone with her husband and she's like, oh my God, these bitches are cray. And he's like, oh, what's going on? And like, you can tell that she she was like, oh, I don't want to know if I want to get into this. Like she didn't really say anything. So I wonder what's going to go on there.
I don't know. I'm just saying that, yes, is there a world where they could be heading for yeah, but why do we always have to go down that road? It's not always that fucking road.
No.
It's not always that fucking road. And
like I said,
she opened up Pandora's box in that car ride to the Hamptons.
I know. She didn't even know.
She had no fucking clue.
She was just trying to do car talk. Like she's seen before.
Yeah. Well, it also feels very much to me that we're all deflecting from maybe the things that we don't want to talk about. And we're pointing the fingers at, let's continue to talk about Jessel's sex life. God. Right? Doesn't that feel that way a little bit?
Yeah. But I don't know the women well enough to know what they're deflecting from. Like,
of course.
You know what I mean?
No,
I don't. Yes.
It's not even so much that I think they're deflecting for anything specific, but they're like, oh, we have a nugget.
Yeah.
Jessel hasn't had sex with her husband. Let's talk about this.
Run with it.
Yeah. And let's just write it hard because now I'm doing a lot of writing analogies. Yeah. We're going to write it hard until there's nothing left to give. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, suck it dry.
Yeah.
Oh, gross. Ooh. God. Okay. Well, guys, I think that's where we leave you.
Yeah. I mean, it was a long one.
It was a long one. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, we're still trying to get our footing with these women.
Yeah. So forgive us for the monotony. Guys, thank you for joining us on our episode. Let me try that again.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us on our episode 2 recap of The Real Housewives of New York City.
Mm-hmm.
Very excited for the rest of this season.
Well, yeah, sort of, yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
I'm excited for Bryn next week.
I know. We get Bryn back. It'll be a good one, I think.
Yeah.
She'll break up the space a little bit. The uppity.
Yeah, we need it. It's a little stiff, no pun intended.
I mean, I feel like we're really clenching buttholes right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No caviar on chips.
Pringles.
God, I know. All right, guys. Well, again, thank you for joining us. And if you have not already, please like and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. If you're feeling frisky, donate a cocktail. I need it for my Ozempic. I need that money to put towards my weight loss journey. Yeah. No, I'm kidding, guys. But if you want to donate a cocktail, please, by all means. We're here and we're happy to accept. Mm-hmm. Again, guys, thank you for joining us. Until next time.
See ya.